Hello and welcome to LedgerCast. My name is Brian Krogsgaard. I am here as per usual with Josh Olsowich. Hey, Josh.
Hey man, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. How are you doing?
Good. Good. Yeah, wearing a mask when I go out, which is basically never, and trying not to get shredded by the corona. How about you?
Same. I'm a mask wearer, and it's not the most popular thing in Alabama, although in my county it is actually mandated. They have the signs up. It doesn't necessarily mean people follow that rule. You know, their liberty is at stake and all. Um,
Yeah, I mean, how do you enforce that?
I don't. You refuse them entry, I guess, but
It's just a shame that common sense became political because
yeah,
man, this could have been a different story.
yeah. It's unfortunate, but what do you do? Nevertheless, we're not going to do a long show today because I'm going to go ride bikes to pick up my kids and to see some friends. Nevertheless, we do want to talk about what's going on because while Bitcoin is about as boring as can be, there is some action, and I'm guessing, for instance, the Josh Olsowich altcoin portfolio is living the dream right now.
Yeah, it was up 6K at least. I don't know what it is now, but yeah, it was
Which
doing
is like
great.
that's like 60% for the people
Yeah,
that
it's
people at home. Josh put together a $10,000 sample portfolio using BNC Pro, and you've just been letting it roll and every now and then transitioning profits from one coin to another. But for the most part, it's a very passively managed fund, right?
yeah, it's not. It's very real. It's like it's a sample basket, but it's a real. Like I have all those positions, so
Yeah. Real
but
positions, sample basket. People can, you're getting regular updates to that portfolio. You got another one that's through token sets. Is that that's an alligator strategy though, right?
yeah. So the token set thing is weird because it's not really a trading platform. It's more of an investing platform,
Yeah.
and it's also sort of copy trading. You hold the custody for everything as far as so like you can send your ETH to token set contracts and then invest in certain strategies based on robo sets or based on social trading sets, and then it just basically copies all the trades of whoever's contract you're under. So yeah, so that specific one is just this alligator fractal strategy for ETHUSD, and then I have two other ones uh, with a more holistic approach for BTCUSD and ETHUSD through Techme Capital. But yeah,
I see. Well, there's time for alts to do things because, as I'm showing on my chart here on the Twitch stream, and for what it's worth, if you're listening to this on the podcast, you want to catch these live, we tweet out Twitch links a few minutes before we go live, which is not very helpful, but you know what? That's why you got to follow us. Um,
dadgummit, as
so
they would say
I
in
am.
Alabama.
That's right. We do. I say dadgummit all the time, non-sarcastically. So yeah. Anyway, Bitcoin's done a big bag of nothing for a long time now. It doesn't matter how you draw this consolidation. My little lines here kind of suck. I just tossed them on there. The point is, it's been sideways, and we're seeing altcoins taking advantage of that. So I figure, I think what I want to focus on today is what are some of the things that you're seeing catch on in terms of what makes one alt go or another? Because we are seeing that it's not everything. There's a lot of cyclical rotation going on. Um,
Yeah, if you go back to the pod we did, I don't know what is it at this point, a year or more ago. I don't even know. We talked about rotation. Like it depends how aggressive you want to be with your
yeah,
altcoin positions. Like if you just say, all right, I'm gonna even sell half at a 2x, sell everything at a 2x, rotate it into something that hasn't moved. Like we're at that point in the cycle right now. I think where it doesn't matter what it
yeah.
is.
There's a
Like
lot.
even
There's a lot that are up 50% or more.
yeah, Atom, Ripple, XLM is finally moving. Doge obviously was the big one. Just all sorts of random garbage, right? Like it doesn't matter as long as it's a ticker and it's listed, it's gonna move.
A ticker and listed, and I do think we saw a big theme of DeFi. Like Tezos was lagging Link. We saw that, but I think Tezos lagging, which was always a fast mover, is a sign of some of that activity went to the things that are around DeFi, whether it was Ren or synthetics or whatever other stuff. Like, I, and even Link took a minute to get out, but it finally broke its consolidation and started going haywire and has had a pretty much textbook perfect move out of its long-term pennant that it was in. And but yeah, everything's kind of moved to some degree, but we've definitely seen rotation and outperformance from certain coins, and some that are just, relatively speaking, they may be up over the last couple of weeks, but they've not like moved out, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the DeFi, people think the DeFi story started like a couple of months ago, but in reality, it started at the beginning of this year, end of last year, because even we have an internal portfolio at TechMe Capital that's up 111% over the
Wow.
past 5 months.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
if you were,
purely DeFi.
yeah, so if you were in that, then you were doing pretty great. But it took a while for a lot of stuff to do anything. And then we've seen some that have really just outperformed for a variety of reasons. But like ADA, I guess, was more like mainnet related or whatever their technology stuff has got going on, right?
Sure, but it took, it took March to happen. It took the end of last year to happen for stuff to get shook up well enough, to reset everything. And then you get this DeFi nonsense, yield farming nonsense, this ADA garbage mainnet thing. So yeah, it's all this stuff plays a factor. Obviously, the Doge TikTok ridiculousness, that I
Yeah,
think was
I don't know
actually
how he did.
TA related.
I don't know how he didn't
So
lead with Doge, but for sure that's true. And the other thing we've seen is some of the earliest movers, like all that mayhem that we saw with Comp. Basically, once it got to Coinbase, it's been nothing but down. Classic.
what a surprise!
Yeah.
Wow, I'm glad I'm sitting down because man, I would just pass out with the
you were
shock.
absolutely shocked. But I'm surprised we didn't start with Doge off of the top. What happened with what led to the trigger for Doge? I mean, we had talked about it for ages, but there was obviously a moment that brought Doge to the forefront. What was all that about?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the cyclical nature of Doge historically has always been there. So none of this is a surprise. You could mention any random catalyst as an event, but again, this goes back to, if you're on a deserted island, just show me the price chart and I'll know what to do, because
Yeah.
over time, this is, of course, it's going to bust up from less than 30 sats. Like eventually that's going to happen. And it was in consolidation for over a year.
I
So,
think,
people are pointing to this TikTok stuff, but for me, it's like just inevitable.
yeah,
Right?
I think what surprised me is that it was 3 days of straight up rather than like, sometimes these will curl a little bit before they properly break up. And this time, especially with TikTok in the blend, like once it went, it freaking went.
Well, the volumes were like all-time high volumes. Even on Kraken, I think this is an all-time high weekly. I really only look at Doge on the weekly, so it's
Yeah.
whatever on the daily. But the other thing about the Doge, when it moves up, it's usually 2 to 3 weeks of movement at least. So I'm in no rush, even though this is down and looks
Yeah, it's
gross.
big wick, but if you look at the past, I mean, it's got 3-4 weeks of action usually. And I think it's a little tough for me to see exactly what those levels are on yours, but I don't see anything why this couldn't go to 100 sats or more.
Yeah, let me find the chart. Sorry.
No, it's
Here
fine.
it is. So it's hitting, I hit a VPVR level, I hit the yearly pivot, it hit all these levels, but I don't really care, like it doesn't matter to me. It's either going to go to 100 or it's not. And I'm in at 29. So what do I care? Right. Like let it go back to 20 sats, like it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. You're willing to retrace your existing gains before you get out.
Right. Because for me, the EV, the risk reward is there, that like whatever, it doesn't matter. Let the TikTok Zoomers sell every last Doge they've ever bought. What do I care?
Yeah. Well, it certainly looks like it's been a heck of a move so far. And yeah, I think if I look at it, 90 to 100 looks like a more reasonable place to sell. And that's more than a 2x from where it is currently. The question is whether you could like measure it enough to like try to gotten out 50, 55 sats, whatever, however long it's spent there, and then hope that you can go rotate it out to something else and then, play that game, which is that's a game that can really make you a lot of money if you time it right in these types of markets.
Yeah, it depends how aggressive you want to be. I was saying in another chat earlier today that I bought Atom 7 months ago and didn't buy any Link, and it's like, what was I thinking? You know?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because Adam was one that I'd been watching really closely, and I got in it at one point. But when it showed weakness in early June, I sold it. Stopped really paying attention because I was out of it and it started bleeding down. Didn't get past the a level that I had highlighted on my chart, and then I just wasn't even paying attention when it made this swing, which is it kind of did a classic altcoin thing where it made made a lower low on a wick, but not on the body, and just kind of had this ugly sweep, and then all of a sudden it was off to the races, like a proper swing, and then it went even beyond what my personal target was, up maybe like 50% from my target, but a nice trade.
But none of this moves without DeFi, without Doge, without ETH. Even ETH and BTC, like large caps, aren't really doing anything right now.
Yeah,
ETH can't break 250.
if the,
BTC can't break 9, 8, 10K.
and it's the same with some other alts too, like older alts like Litecoin. Now Ethereum is triggering what I had. Remember we talked about the 2 trade setup before, like clearing the higher high. It is setting up for what I had personally established as what I wanted my secondary entry to be. So like trade 1 was kind of the bottom of that consolidation up to the top of it, and then trade 2 was properly clearing the previous high. So to me, there's a 15% plus move potential here on Ethereum if it maintains this new high. However, I look at that in context to some of the other altcoins out there, and I don't know that 15 or 20% is enough for me to feel, like I want to take that trade. I know that sounds dumb, but
no, it's back to the opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Where's your capital best allocated right now?
Yeah.
I think long term, ETH BTC looks great, especially on the 2-day.
Yeah, but when I look at that 0.03 area, and it just looks so heavy, like it'll probably be some pretty clear resistance, and so that's only about 15% to get to there.
And we're not seeing any announcements about ETH phase 0, 2.0, whatever. I saw one today that it got pushed back to 2021. So, if you're going back to this quarterly historic price action, if you look at ETH in Q3, Q4, it's not been good. So maybe it doesn't do anything till Q2 next year,
Yeah, and like you said, even XRP is moving a little bit, but that you can't look at this XRP chart and think of it as anything bullish per se. Maybe attempt at trend reversal, but not confirmed even. So like some of these old darlings are just not with it. The new hotness once again wins when you're playing the altcoin cyclical rotation game, and all the prior large caps, whatever, just they're not doing it. They're not cutting it. So you got to stay on top of a market like this, and on top of that, you got to time it well. It's not easy.
It's the dumb money low cap stuff that's moving, which isn't great. I think from you could talk about Joe 007 and his anti-altcoin slant, and historically I agree with him that if alts move up, it's generally not a great sign for BTC.
Like the alt having those swings are kind of the last days before a Bitcoin breakdown. Unless Bitcoin makes the move first. Although I don't know. I mean, I think it's possible some of these profits do funnel back into Bitcoin if Bitcoin just continues to have this consolidation, and then a move up could, create the retrace in altcoins that then you buy and yada yada carry on. However, you highlight this edge play is getting more and more, in play, realistic. If we do draw down that 7100, 7150 target, you're liking that better and better, huh?
Yeah, this gets the fact that we didn't make any higher highs. I was hedged and then closed the hedge, so I'm now just holding,
just waiting
BTC, just waiting. But again, like I said last week, I'll be taking a short for sure at 9K, expecting 7-1.
Yeah, that was what I was about to ask. Is what is the level that you like for taking the short? Is it still at a daily close at 9K?
Yeah, it's still a daily close at 9K. I mentioned on here too that like there's a yearly pivot at 8.1. There's VPVR nodes
Yeah.
all over the
So it could be a
place.
little grind to get down there.
For sure. But I still think the setup looks good anyway. We'll see what actually happens. But the alternative is we bull TK recross and
And
just make higher highs.
historically that's a very bullish thing though for Bitcoin when it actually trends.
Right. So if we do make the bull TK cross, like I think 13K.
Yeah.
And this isn't like we're going up or down. This is a if this then that's thing where this is my decision tree
Right.
for the next week or two.
Well, I think what's beneficial about that when you say if the TK cross is your lead in, which also would probably coincide with breaking the little diagonal that exists on Bitcoin right now, that's kind of your tell sub 95, 9600 before you break the weekly high at 10.1. So you're getting some lead time when you get a trigger like that, a fast trigger like a TK cross. That gives you some lead time, hopefully before it then breaks the true like weekly confirmation level, like 10.1 or something. So yeah, I like this trade setup. You could either long maybe 9600, might be where you get something that type of TK cross, and then get confirmation over 10.1, 10.2 on the weekly, and then short 9K, looking for profits in the low sevens.
Yeah, because if you get a bullish TK cross above the cloud, that's mega go time. You know, you don't mess around with that.
One other thing, because of the Doge hype, that's on Robinhood. Apparently, Robinhood ran out of coins to sell people, or however
Really?
that works. Yeah, you didn't see that? It was like
I was trying
temporarily disabled because they just couldn't sell enough.
I saw the Robin trackers like for stocks, right? I was trying to find one for crypto, but I couldn't find one. So if there's one out there, let me know. But
Yeah.
because I wanted to see how many people were holding Doge, you know. Like if it
Well,
actually, because
yeah,
people are like the story is all these TikTokers are buying Doge, right? But
right.
like we don't have any evidence for that really.
But what I found interesting on that is when you combine the TikTok thing versus the coins on Robinhood, other than Doge, Ethereum, and Bitcoin, it's kind of gross. It's Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, Ethereum Classic. However, it could be a signal of like what might move next. If people are high on Doge, are people going to use Robinhood to pump one of these other ones? If they do, I mean, ETC is probably one of the easiest to move. LTC maybe as well. So I'll be curious if Doge hype moves into some of those other Robinhood coins. But that's really my only other take on that whole thing. Generally, I think this is this type of retail interest could be the signal to, that retail's getting interested in crypto again. Certainly, I want to watch that. I don't care what anybody says. Institutional money and existing players, they can only do so much. That retail audience can do much, much more, as Tesla or any of these other crazy stocks can show you.
Well, there's still so much crap going on. You know, we have the Corona stuff creeping up in the States still. We have macro stock equity stuff that I see every day that's more and more bearish. We have another $1,200 potentially coming to people
Well,
soon.
the $1,200 is bullish, man. And
Right.
tell
But
all that to the Nasdaq, which continues to make new highs and without any form of retrace ever. It's a tough one to chase, even though I completely agree with you. So
none of it logically makes sense.
but yet it's happening.
I know
So
it's really crazy. Another thing I checked mentioning ETC, I haven't looked at this, but the ETC premium on Grayscale, because they have like 10% of the circulating supply of ETC
yeah,
on that pink sheet thing. So that'd be one thing to check.
to see how high the premium is.
Yeah, but because the premium on ETH and GBTC has been falling recently.
Yeah, that's certainly another interesting one to see what it looks like. One more that I think is interesting is I wonder if BNB is going to signal us anything. It did a failure and then a swing back above what I considered its key level. That was a key support area several times. So that feels potentially springy to me as well. and just to get back to kind of the top end of that range would be 25 to 30% gains. And also that's a signal to me, if BNB is doing something interesting, it could be a signal that, people are saying like, oh, I got to get some coins back on Binance and be ready to trade alts, yada, yada. So I think a strong BNB is generally supportive of strong altcoin markets right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The chart looks like garbage, but
yeah, well, it just looks like that potential, like a swing failure pattern type of thing, where it didn't break down, it didn't go to zero or whatever after it broke a long-term support, and it's starting to swing it back as a like a spring type of action. So it looks interesting to me. It's not one I want to trade. It's one I want to use to monitor other things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was looking at EOS yesterday too because I did an article on it, and it looks kind of dead, but at the same time, it hasn't moved yet, and it's an altcoin. So
I think this is where I was getting at the beginning of the show too. It's like you can't just spray and pray. I think there's a little more work required at the moment, because especially if your goal is to get into some of those big caps and think big caps move first. Well, it's new age big caps. It's not the old guard big caps that are really highlighting these moves.
Yeah, EOS BTC looks pretty terrible. XMR,
it's
BTC,
the ADAs and the atoms and the links and some of these coins that are in that. I don't know. They're probably $1 billion, many of them, but they're a different era of coin than the Ethereums and Litecoins and Doge coins and Moneros and whatever.
Wow, look at that volume on Stellar BTC on Binance.
Yeah,
crazy.
So that could be something.
Yeah, the weekly level is still way up here at like 11, 12, 13.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts on the altcoin market? Because I want to leave the show actually to just altcoins, because this is going to be a shortened show. So what thoughts do you have, like guidance in terms of how you'll approach the next week?
I mean, don't join any communities, have a low time preference, enjoy the ride. I want to be more aggressive here, rotating in and out.
Yeah, it feels like a time for me to make your moves on low time frames. Like, I don't normally say watch low time frames, but when you start getting 10, 15, 20% pumps in a day, then you need to be looking for 30-minute charts or something like that, divergences, those types of things, to say like, all right, I'm going to cycle out, take my profits, maybe leave a little bit for later, but maybe not, and then just roll it into something that I think has a good opportunity from here.
Yeah, I mean, you can have high time frame targets, but
time frame targets. But if you're looking for exhaustion on something that's been moving like crazy, like that Doge move the other day.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good time to buy Doge when it's up 200% in a couple days, obviously. But
right, but if you're looking to say like, I'm gonna take profit on this couple days of move, you might use those lower time frames to try to time that a little better.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. ETC still looks like garbage to me. So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It hadn't flipped the trend. I mean, that's what we've seen so far, is a lot of stuff just hasn't flipped the trend. But the ones that have done really well. I mean, I was stunned looking at Atom. I did not realize it had moved so much so quickly. But it was like nothing but up days for 2 weeks, and I just ignored it completely. So I was disappointed in myself with that, because this is one that I was really closely tracking and wanted to, be a part of, and I missed out on that. So, sucks for me.
Two more things. 0x looks okay. Doesn't look too terrible.
Yeah.
On trend, and then
that's the type that I think is like kind of that curls up and then get a solid move, curls up and then gets a solid move. That's what those moves look like to me.
And then Rep has actually moved quite a bit recently. They have a version 2.0 coming eventually this month. I don't know. They keep pushing it back, but
yeah.
If you're looking for like random DeFi shit shakers to buy,
yeah, or some,
that's the kind of thing.
And look for some of those fundamental events. I've got my favorites too, but
yeah,
I'd say leave that up to people to try to time those fundamental events, get it right, whatever. All right, Josh, I know this is a quick episode, but I think we're going to leave it there today, just so that we can get out of here on time. Thanks for joining me. thanks everybody for being here. Short episode this week, but we'll make it up to you. Thanks for joining us. Go to ledgerstats.com to subscribe, and Carpe Noctem on Twitter and all that. Talk to you later.